Hey, sorry, ran out of time on that last video, so this is part two. We're going to look at two problems that are a little bit trickier. All right? Okay, in this problem, we are going from 3 miles and we're going to convert it into feet, miles to feet. Using our conversion chart, I can see that 1 mile, this is the biggest unit of measurement. We're trying to go from miles to feet. So we know we're going from big to small, multiply it all. So we're going to take those 3 miles and we're going to multiply it. Here's the tricky part. Miles and feet, we don't have a conversion for them. I can see that 1 mile equals 1,760 yards, and I can see that 1 yard equals 3 feet, but I do not have a conversion for miles to feet. So I'm going to have to create that conversion myself. To do that, I'm going to use these two measurements here. If I know that 3 feet equals 1 yard, and there are 1,760 yards inside of a mile, I'm going to need to multiply these two numbers together to figure out how many feet are in a mile. So I'm going to take 1,760 and I'm going to multiply it by 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 is 22. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So now I know that inside of 1 mile, there are 5,280 feet. So maybe I want to add that in over here. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. For those of you who are really good at memorizing, I would put that into my memorization, into my memory. All right. But let's go back to the problem, because the problem is not how many feet are in 1 mile. The problem is how many feet are in 3 miles. So I need to take my 3 miles and multiply it by 5,280. Whoa. Because we're going from big to small, multiply them all. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. Now I know that in 3 miles, there are 15,840 feet. To look at that using a model, if this is my total of 3 miles, mile 1, mile 2, mile 3, 1, 2, 3. I know that inside of each of these miles, there's 1,760 yards. Wow, it's getting crazy on me. 1,760 yards, 1,760 yards. But I'm not trying to find how many yards, I'm trying to find how many feet. Because every yard has 3 feet, I'm going to need to take each of these and multiply it by 3. When I do that, I get 5,280 feet inside each of these miles. So, to figure out the total amount of feet inside of 3 miles, I would need to take 5,280 and multiply it by 3. So that's how we get our answer to this problem. One more. We're going to go from 108 inches to yards. We're going from inches to yards. Looking over here at my conversion chart, here are my inches and here are my yards. So I can see that inches are on the very bottom. So inches are smaller than yards. So we are going small to big. Divide that pig. So we're going to take 108 and we're going to be dividing it. Well, what are we dividing it by? Just like before, I don't have a conversion on my conversion chart that tells me how many inches are in a yard. So I'm going to need to figure that out. To figure that out, I'm going to have to use these two measurements to help me. If I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot and 3 feet in 1 yard, I can multiply these together to figure out how many inches are in a yard. So if I do 12 times 3, which you should know, but if not, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3. So there are 36 inches inside of a yard. So maybe I want to write that 1 yard equals 36 inches. You want to see the model for that? Here we are. This is 1 yard right here. We can split our yard up into 3 feet. There's 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet. Every foot has 12 inches. So that's a 12, that's a 12, and that's a 12. So how many inches are inside of a yard? 12 times 3 is 36. So that's how we know that. But we're not done because we don't have just 36 inches. We have 108 inches. So we're going to need to divide up those 108 inches into groups of 36 to figure out how many yards there are. This is when I said we're going to be doing straight multiplication and division from now on. No more powers of 10 to make it easy. Okay, so I know 36 can't go into 1. Bring down our 0. I know 36 can't go into 10. Bring down our 8. So how many times can 36 go into 108? I'm going to use my math facts to help me. I see an 8 in the ones place here. What times 3 will get me an 8 in the ones place? The first thing that comes to mind is 3, because I know that 3 times 6 is 18. So I'm going to try that one first. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Whew, I made myself a pretty good guess, didn't I? All right, so 3 times 36 gets me 108, which is what I was looking for. I'm happy about that. So 108 inches is the same thing as 3 yards. So sometimes you can use your conversion chart here, but sometimes you're going to have to add in it or just start to memorize this. Just remember that there are 36 inches inside of 1 yard. And some of you will remember it very quickly. All right, so that's the end of this video. What you're going to be doing now is your practice page for day 1. It's right below this video. Click on it. You can do one of 2 things. You can print it out and solve it, or you can look at it on the screen and solve it in your math journal, whichever you prefer. What I'd like for you to do is solve each of these problems using what we learned in these videos. Your answers are right here at the top, so as you find your answer, cross it off. If you don't see your answer, then you have done something wrong. If you need help, refer back to this lesson, these 2 videos. If you're still confused, tomorrow I want you to get on with me during my Zoom session at 9:30 a.m. and ask your questions, and I would be happy to help you. When you're finished going through these 10 problems, I want you to check it with the answer key that's right below it. If you got them all right, you can begin working on your USA test prep assignment for Monday. Remember, you must get a 70% or above. If you have any questions, email me or hop on Zoom tomorrow. All right? Bye.